All right, voices up off in 3. Sitting up straight in 2. Getting ready, tracking the screen in 1. And the lesson begins in 0. So, Fordham, we have again and again talked about adapting, adjusting to different types of climates and different types of weather. For example, if you're from Mexico, you are not going to wear a big winter coat. In the same language, if you are in Russia or the Arctic, you would not wear a bathing suit or just a t-shirt. It doesn't make sense. You have to do different things to survive in different areas. Who can tell me what adaptation is in your own words? Everybody tracking. Shane on the side. Tracking. Isani, track.
Adaptation.
Marcos, track.
Adaptation is basically if someone were to live in the cold, and if you moved them to like Puerto Rico, Mexico, or DR, they would be like, it's hot, so they would have to change their clothes and wear different things.
Timothy, add on.
What I think adapt means is when, like, say if it's cold in the Arctic, that means you're staying there for some days or some weeks or a year. You adapt to where you're at and what you need to adapt there.
Excellent. Everybody tracking Isabella, but Isabella, don't answer that. Isabella, tell me in what ways can you adapt? What is one way you can adapt to a climate that is different than yours?
You can wear different clothes, and you can go to different environments that are places that you're used to.
Everybody tracking Elijah. Elijah, what's another way we can adapt to different environments other than wearing clothing?
Another way you can adapt to where you live is eating different foods.
Absolutely. Everybody tracking in the front. Now, I'm a little scared to ask this question because I know how a couple of you are, but I'm going to ask either way. If you are in the Arctic, are you going to be walking around with iced coffee? Raise your hand if you are. Oh, thank God, nobody. Why wouldn't you walk around with iced coffee? Everybody tracking. Malaysia, why wouldn't we walk around with iced coffee in the Arctic?
If you walk around right talking like this, you will have to be colder because it's already cold there. What you need is some hot coffee.
Excellent. Hot coffee. Everybody tracking me up front. So, like I shared with y'all, the new lesson outline, you already know what it is. We are going to jump straight into our do now. Somebody read it for me loud and proud. Go ahead, Chloe.
Imagine that you live in the Arctic. There are few plants, but plenty of large animals and lots of sea life. What would you have to do to survive in this type of environment?
Excellent. So, this is the big word that I just want to point out, and I want everybody to repeat after me. Humans adapt to survive. So, humans adapt to?
Survive.
One more time. Humans adapt to?
Survive.
Humans adapt to?
Survive.
Just Timothy. Humans. Why do humans adapt?
To survive.
Sergio, why do humans adapt? Brandon, why do humans adapt? To survive, right? To live, right? So today, first thing we're going to do is answer this question. When you're answering this, think about what you would wear, what you would eat in the Arctic. 1 minute on the clock. Nobody write just yet? I didn't say to go. All right, pencil down. Pencil down. Everybody write. Go. Shout out to Maddox. Immediately pencil to paper, +2 for him. Shout out to Jose. Immediately pencil to paper. Shout out to him. Rainer, go over there. We're going to work together. Shout out to Elijah. Pencil to paper. He is going. Shout out to Symphony, who just walked in class and she's about to answer this and put pencil to paper. So, what would you do if you had to survive? Think about what you would wear and what you would eat. Yeah, very cold. You see the snow? Very cold. So, what's a good sentence? So this says, imagine that you live in a farm. How would you survive? Everybody keep writing. Love it. Write it down. There you go, buddy. All right, everybody tracking me up front in 3. Pencils down in 2. Ready to share your responses in 1. And the lesson begins in 0. Everybody tracking William in the back. William, what are you going to do, buddy?
So, what I would do is my friends, my family, my winter clothes, water, food, and shelter.
Excellent. So, friends, family, for sure. But then I also heard winter coat, right? Not just a regular coat, but a winter coat. For example, this is technically a coat. Well, not really. It's like a light jacket. But I wouldn't wear this to the Arctic, right? Who would wear this to the Arctic? Who else wants to share? Please quietly raise your hand. Everybody tracking. Symphony up front.
Well, when I move it, I will have really heavy stuff because it will shelter and water and, well, the water's gonna freeze because it's really, really cold. So I'm not gonna have no water, but I will have a really hot thing because it's really cold, so I want my family to be really warm and hot.
Everybody tracking Jose in the back.
I would like to wear a heavy coat because it's so cold, and I would like drink hot chocolate because it's so cold.
Everybody tracking me up front, tracking me up front. So, there are many things that we can do, right, to survive in the Arctic. There's a group of people that already live there. They're called the Inuits. The Inuit people live in the most harsh condition in the world. Nobody lives in more of an extreme climate than them. How they manage to live there, I have no answers for. But today, we're going to peek into their lives. When I play this very short video, think about what they are wearing. Think about what their homes look like. Think about what they're eating. Think about what they're doing and what their environment looks like. But most importantly, think about how they're surviving. Right? So, everybody eyes on the screen, and after the video, I will open up the floor for questions. Another small thing I want to mention, I know y'all took a test today, so let's get through this material very quickly. I will have you do your group work, and as soon as we're done, I'll let y'all hang out, but only if we all meet my expectations. So, everybody tracking the screen, voices are off. Let's see how the Inuits survive.
This is a community of 60 people living in 9 chungs. On the days between migrations, they spend most of their time looking after reindeer and making repairs. It's so hard to help around here because so many of these jobs are so finicky and particular. You really need to know what you're doing, but occasionally I can find a little task like just chipping ice off a sledge or holding a rope or unleashing a reindeer. Just beginning really to be of some use. It's no problem. Let's see if I can do it finally. This is what you call not doing a good job. No, это просто скользит. Things you learn. That afternoon, Alexander takes me fishing.
Just listen to the wind.
He put a net in the lake the day before, and the first fish they drag up is a salmon-like fish.
Very quickly, everybody tracking me, has anybody ever been in a snowball fight? Quietly raise your hand. When you take off your glove, have you ever had your hands very, very cold and they were shaking and maybe even turned a different color? Right? Well, guess what? Times that by 10. And that's what you're going to get right now.
It's known locally as a sheker. But getting the fish untangled from the net is a delicate task, so it's done with bare hands. Just took my gloves on because they thought that my hands might be warm. But honestly, they're in absolute agony. With this wind and without water, well, I can't feel them really. They're just stinging pain. And these guys are like this all the time. And I just, God, it's confusing. The extreme cold is making it almost impossible for the crew to work. Not only are the skills hard out here, but I'm finding it hard to learn them too. Because twice during the time I was faffing around with fish there, I heard a translation at the back saying, "Come on, Bruce, you're taking too long." And that's the fact of life here. These conditions are tough, and you just can't keep people waiting around. So it's incredibly hard for me to learn anything because my learning process is just a waste of their time, frankly, in these conditions. And I'm having to deal with that every day.
All right, cover your eyes, kiddo. All right, everybody tracking me up front. Everybody tracking me up front. Row 1 eyes. Excellent. Row 2. Row 3. So, before you tell me what we saw in the video, let's do a quick turn and talk. Tell your partner what you just saw about how the Inuits survived. Go. Now, you know that feeling when you put your cold hand in hot water? Imagine that 24 hours. Take about 30 more seconds.
And you play games in the cold. I need to.
All right, bring it back in 5. Voices off in 4. Sitting up straight in 3. Eyes on me in 2. Getting ready to participate in 1. And the lesson begins in 0. Let's start with Timothy. Timothy, everybody tracking. Timmy, how you gonna do it? What were they doing?
It was really cold, but I didn't really think it affected them because the stuff that they had on. But I know when they put their hands in the water, like some of their hands was cold and stuff.
Absolutely, everybody tracking. Kaylee?
Fishing without gloves.
They were fishing without gloves, right? Why do you think the Inuit people do all this? Why do people adapt to their environments? To
Survive.
one more time. To
Survive.
survive. right? To survive. Jose, close us out.
And they were like cutting trees.
Yeah. Did we see a lot of trees there?
No.
No.
No?
No.
No?
We see cabins.
Who can tell me what the Native Americans use their trees for? Remember, they use it for a lot of things. Everybody tracking, symphony up front.
They use it to build houses and to make fire.
Absolutely, right? So, I want everybody to immediately switch your page. Let's jump into our reading. As you see, we have two very short readings. We're going to get through this fairly quickly. After that, I am going to do a quick check for understanding, making sure we're all on the same page. And then we're going to jump into your favorite part, aka the boop word. Right? So, but before we can have our meat, we gotta eat our veggies and potatoes.
No.
Voices are off in 3. Pencils are ready in 2. Eyes on our paper in 1. And the lesson continues at 2. The Inuit. I'm just going to circle this whole thing. Just by looking at the title of this document, what do you think we're going to be reading about? Everybody tracking Elijah? The Inuit people, right? So I want everybody to write with the star right next to it. The Inuit. Right, look. The Inuit people, right? The people who live there. Timothy.
Yep.
Here.
How do you keep this one?
Okay. So I am going to start reading. Eyes on the screen. The vegetation in the Arctic is severely limited due to the low temperatures. I am going to underline this whole sentence. And then I'm going to circle this word vegetation. Everybody tracking me up front. What do we think they mean by vegetation? Everybody tracking Chloe. Chloe, what do you think they're talking about?
I think by vegetation they mean like the vegetables that grow there.
Yeah, definitely the vegetables. What else is green and very important to human life? But first, let's put a little star and let's put vegetables, right? What else? Jose?
What else is green is lettuce.
Lettuce? What else though? Because that would fall kind of under vegetables too. Timothy?
Trees,
Trees! And what else?
plants,
Plants.
and grass, and what you just said?
And what?
Broccoli.
Broccoli, that would fall under there too. Yeah, you can grab the chair and put it right there, bud. Right? So, everybody tracking me up front, whenever you hear this word after this, whenever you hear vegetation, it talks about trees, grass, vegetables as well, but everything that is green that supports humans in their survival, right? Plants that do grow in this area are very small and low to the ground like mosses. Animals who survive in the Arctic have thick fur coats and a layer of blubber to stay warm on the freezing waters and frigid land. I am going to underline the whole last sentence. And then I'm going to circle this word blubber. Sounds a little funny, right? Blubber, blubber. Sounds like a cartoon.
Cool.
Something, or like a new TikTok dance I would be doing. So,
Yes.
everybody tracking me up front. So we know that animals survive one way by having thick coats, right? But what does it mean to have blubber? Everybody tracking Maddox up front.
I would guess it's lumber or like mud, so they can like not be cold.
But what is it? Everybody, oh, you got it?
I think it's like to stay warm.
Everybody tracking Chloe in the middle?
I think fire is like a layer of fat that some animals have.
Everybody tracking me up front. So when you see the polar bear, you see he has a very thick coat, right? There's fur. But when you look at a walrus or a seal, they don't have that much fur, right? They're practically bald. So what they have is that blubber, that fat, right? It keeps them warm, right? So always keep that in mind. Blubber, it sounds funny, but it is actually a very great tool for animals that don't have fur to survive. Because animals survive too. They just do it in different ways as opposed to humans. Give me a second, I'll address all questions after we're done reading. Okay, go ahead.
From walrus. How walrus still stay cold, but they are in the wrong zoo?
What do you mean?
Are they still hot in there in the blubber?
So, if we all remember when we went to the Bronx Zoo, everything is temperature controlled. The water that they're in is being controlled.
Oh.
Right? Because they wouldn't just put them in any normal water. They need cold water to survive. Right? Just like when we saw those tropical little monkeys, they need warm water to survive. Right? So the zoo is very good at controlling the temperature. Timothy?
Can I move the front?
Yes, you can. Thank you for raising your hand and asking. I appreciate you. Shane?
Did they use like something to like cool the water or like put the water to freezing like how their normal environment is?
We'll read about it. I know what you're trying to say. But I'd rather show you than tell you at this point. And I got a real cool video. Alright, eyes back up on paper in 2. Pencils ready in 1. And continuing in 0. Traditionally, the Inuits supported themselves by hunting fish, sea mammals, and land animals for food, heat, clothing, tools, and shelter. Ooh, I'm going to underline that whole thing. And then I'm going to put a star. I just want you to move on that. That's how to use that. I'm going to put a star right there, and then I'm going to put Inuit. Use Inuit use animals for many. Oh, I'm running out of room here. For many things, right? We see that they're using them for clothing, food, but also the bones to make tools and weapons. Everything gets used. Continuing reading in 2, eyes back on our paper in 1, and Shane is picking it up in 0.
They hunted mainly seal and
Calibu, which is the type of a shrimp/fish.
caribou, but also whales, walrus, polar bear, musk ox, fox, and wolf. The animals were used for food, and their skin was used for clothing, blankets, tents, and boats. Their oil was used for cooking and lamps. Bones, ivory, and wood were used to make tools.
Excellent. So this goes great with something we've already annotated. Once again, they use the animals for many different things. Can you very quickly, quietly raise your hand and tell me one way they use their animal? Timothy?
One way they use the animals is by
Send them some shine, y'all. Send them some shine. Oh, Timmy definitely got this. Send them some shine. Timmy.
For eating?
For eating! Malaysia, what's another way they use their animals?
They use their animals for clothing.
For clothing, eating. Kaylee, please tell me one more thing.
For blankets.
For blankets, right? William,
They use them for
Tools.
for tools, and Brenner, weapons, right? Not only for tools, but also for weapons, right? Excellent. So, we have our next very small article. Then we're going to jump into a group. So, everybody eyes, yeah, you can move up. Everybody eyes on your paper in 2. Pencils ready, Kaylee in 1. And getting ready to read in 0. So, like always, I'm going to underline the title, which is the Arctic people. What is the name of these people? Who can tell me? Shane?
The Arctic people are also known as the Inuits.
The Inuit. I'm just going to put a star and put Inuit right there because I don't like when... Imagine if I'm just like, hey, student. You would like me to call you by your name, right? The same way the Inuits would like it if you called them by their name. All right, so just by reading this title, the Arctic people, or the Inuit, environment and housing. What is this document going to be about? Timothy?
Housing.
Housing. And what else? One more thing. Elijah?
Environment.
And the environment, right? So let's pick it up. Eyes on our paper. When I look up, everybody's eyes should be on their paper. And if that is the case, you all get a thrive point. Amazing. That is a thrive point for everybody, folks. At one time, the Inuit had a summer home and a winter home. In the summer, the Inuit often lived in tents that they made from caribou hides, skin, and bone frames, right? Once again, using the skins, but also the bones. In the winter, many Inuit lived in sod, grass and roots beneath it homes. They would dig a hole in the ground and pile rocks and sod all around the outside to make walls, right? So I'm going to underline all that because this is clearly speaking about what they made their homes with, right? And I'm going to put a little star and then write homes were made with rocks, bones, and moss, which is the grass. Finish writing in 4. Getting ready in 3. Eyes on our paper in 2. Pencils ready in 1. And continuing Timmy in 0.
Oh, where is it? Oh, pieces of whalebone were used as a frame for the roof, which the Inuit then covered with sod in both the tents and the sod houses was the Inuit built raised platforms at the back for sleeping.
Excellent. So everybody tracking me up front. Row 1, eyes. Pencils down. Row 2. Looking perfect, William. Row 3. Excellent. Sitting up straight, please. Good job. So, before we jump into our little groups and we do all our fun stuff, very quickly, please tell your partner what we just read. Go.
When my